Nexon just announced their newest progression system, Legion Champion. This is going to be released in the summer patch, and it is going to be meta changing. A lot of stuff is changing. I'm personally super excited for this. And in today's video, I'm going to be explaining the new system, what this means for the meta, and how you can best prepare for it. Now, again, the system is called Legion Champion. That is what it's called in KMS, at least. You're going to find this system as another tab in your Legion board, kind of like Artifacts is right here. It should be just below this, and it should say Champion on it, I believe. And how it works is there's going to be 6 slots that you can fill up. It's unlocked once you hit 8,000 Legion. So basically you fill up these slots with 260 plus characters. You have to be at least level 260 in order to be in the slot. And these characters are going to give you buffs just like your current Legion characters do. Just like all of this, there's going to be more buffs, except for instead of the buffs being based on your character's level or where they're placed at in a grid, the buffs are going to be based off of your ability to solo certain bosses. Okay. There's 5 buffs in total. There's all stat, attack, magic attack, boss percent damage, crit damage, which is insane, and then IED. And you unlock them in that order. You unlock them by soloing hard bosses. Well, for the most part, you get the all stat by beating hard Lotus. You get the attack, weapon attack, magic attack by beating hard Scylla. And again, this is solo on the character. You cannot do this in a team. You get 5% boss damage for soloing hard Black Mage, or just Black Mage, not extreme, just hard. And then you get 2.5% crit damage for soloing hard Saren. And then the 5% IED, thankfully, they put that at the end and not the crit damage. You get the 5% IED by soloing normal Kalos, which much more difficult, I think, than Saren. Is that true? Actually, that might not be true now that I think about it. Higher level, though, for sure. And Kalos is level 280 and Saren is 275. So, yeah, so if your main were to say to solo all of those bosses, you would get 5 all stat, 5 attack, 5% boss, 2.5 for crit, and then 5 IED. And obviously, you know, there are 6 slots in the board. You can do this with all 6 characters and get up to 30 all stat, 30 attack, 30 boss damage, 15% crit damage. Absolutely insane. And then 30 IED. These buffs are insanely massive, and for any person in the end game of MapleStory, it's going to be a must do. Now, if you are earlier on in your MapleStory journey, definitely not something you really need to think too much about or worry about. And there is more to it here. If you can't solo these bosses, there's another part of the system that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, and that is this the Dragon Island, I believe it's called, expedition. I believe this is going to be a monthly dungeon you can run. It's definitely monthly, and I believe it's a dungeon that you cycle between all 6 of your players, or sorry, your characters on the board. I believe that's how it works. Not 100% sure. It could also just be like, I mean, this wouldn't really make sense. I was gonna say maybe it's like the start raid, where you just, all your characters are like there and they're attacking the dragon, but I actually do believe it is a mini dungeon. And you score points in the mini dungeon, I'm guessing based off of how strong your characters are, maybe how much damage you can do. Not 100% sure yet. This has just been announced. And what you unlock with that, based off of your points, is these different buffs that are described to be similar to guild buffs. So in case you don't know, guild skills give you 30% crit damage, 30% damage, and then 30% boss damage. And this is IED. So they're going to give you this similar type of thing. They listed them all off. I don't have it here in front of me, but I believe it is the same as the passive buffs that you can get: the all stat, the attack, the boss damage, the crit percent, the IED. And then I also know that there is going to be an experience buff in it, which is really interesting, and like a guild skill, but for experience. So really interested to see the numbers on all of this. From what I heard, the score that you get is going to lower the cooldown of these abilities. Now, that might mean that you get the maximum value of the stat right away. It's just a really long cooldown, perhaps. Maybe having a higher level also increases the duration. I don't know, but yeah, even more damage. Like crit damage is in there. You can have like the amount of crit damage that they're adding to the game with this update is insane, and makes clearing these bosses solo like even more realistic for like a lot, making it a lot easier than I think people realize. I think a lot of people like here you have to solo hard Saren, but and yeah, that don't get me wrong, that is a lot, and we're going to talk about that. But they are adding a ton of damage with this update. That's just going to make it way easier. So shouldn't be that hard. Okay, it's still going to be hard, but yeah. So that's the system announced. Basically, that's everything there is to it, or at least what we know so far. What I want to talk about next is what this means. I guess my thoughts on it in general. Let's start with that. I'm going to go out and say that I really love this system. I'm super excited for it. It's definitely had mixed reviews, I guess, on Reddit. I mean, to be honest, they're extremely negative about everything, so I would take that with a grain of salt. I don't know what KMS is mostly saying about it, but for me personally, I love it. More damage, more bosses, all very exciting. And it also rewards muling, building up boss mules, which personally I love doing. It's probably one of my favorite things in the game. I think anyone who enjoys the actual like mechanics of MapleStory, who enjoys like the slow progression, building up your account, I think anyone like that is going to like this a lot. And there are people that play the game for different reasons. They like different things. They just mostly like focusing on one character. They don't care about Legion at all. They just want to play their one character. And for those people, this definitely is kind of going to suck. I mean, you're going to be, if you chose not to interact with this system, you would be out like almost 13% crit damage, like a lot, 25% boss, like you would be out a lot. So yeah, it does kind of force you to interact with it, like with how good it is. So, could be bad if you're one of those players. If you were super early on and you're hearing me talk about this and you're like, I don't know, like really like stressed out, don't get burnt out just thinking about this. This is a system meant for people like in MapleStory's end game. So if you're not there yet, it's not really something you have to think about or even worry about. And also, I'm just a big fan of doing whatever you enjoy in the game in general. So yeah, if you don't enjoy playing on other accounts, just don't worry about it. At the end of the day, everybody goes at their own pace, and clearing these bosses on multiple characters is only going to get easier over time. Like, I think it's going to be like our final damage jump from today to that patch in like 6 months is going to be pretty huge. We're going to have Masteries 3-4 unlocked. They're going to be making it like way easier to level up your character by increasing Monster Park Extreme runs. You can play it on 2 different characters in case you don't know this. And then they're also going to make it so you can do the epic dungeons on 2 different characters. So they're just going to make it way, way easier to get stronger. And yeah, that's never going to change. Things are just going to continue to get easier and easier to progress. So I would not stress too much about this system. Play at your own pace, have fun, and I think it's going to be a good thing overall for everyone, especially in Reboot, where a lot of the major complaints from endgamers is the infamous pitched waiting room, where you're just waiting to get drops so you can hope to upgrade them to 22 stars. I think the best current solution, hopefully, Nexon eventually gives us some type of pity system or something like that. But in the meantime, I think the best workaround for that is to get your character as strong as you can, and then just start working on mules and building them up. And then, with this update, we can eventually have 6 characters in the pitch waiting room. So another thing, actually, that I didn't mention, and I think is even bigger, is the shift to, I think it's going to make min clearing, which is basically clearing a boss like as soon as you're able to, basically means being able to survive like the full like 30 minutes of a boss timer and taking it right down to the wire and killing them. That is going to be meta as far as I'm concerned. You will save yourself a lot of time, because right now I like don't do bosses unless it's like a 6-man, or I can solo them in like 1 or 2 bursts, and that's kind of how it's always been. because the game just, I don't know, it doesn't reward you that much for min clearing solo. But with this change, min clearing solo is going to be meta. You'll save yourself a ton of time, and it's going to reward people who take the time to actually learn bosses. And more importantly, it's going to make that meta. And I guess what I mean by that is that a lot of times I take longer to learn bosses. Like I'm only really recently learning how to actually kill Varys Hilla. Because normally I'm just joining a party. You know, when you first start just joining a party, you're one bursting it or two bursting it. You don't really need to know the mechanics, but now with this change, it's going to be advantageous to your main account. Your main account will get boosted tremendously, very noticeably. All of your accounts, but your main account too, will get boosted tremendously for you being able to min clear these bosses, which really, really incentivizes you to sit down and learn the mechanics of these bosses and be able to clear them in with as little damage as possible. So I think that's really cool, and I think that's exciting, which I haven't heard too many people talk about that. But yeah, maybe I'm just like too much of an optimist. I don't know. But yeah, one of the big things that I'm extremely excited about. So now the last thing I sort of want to talk about is what it takes to actually clear up to solo hard Saren. This is something that's going to be a bit vague because obviously it's going to depend on what class you're playing, future buffs that happen, you know, who knows how strong we're going to be. It's kind of hard for me to guess, like, I don't know, like exactly how much damage we're going to gain from now to then. But I want to give you guys at least an idea of what I'm planning on doing for my characters. And again, I'm not playing 6 different characters, right? My plan is I'm building up my Buccaneer right now, which is my Hyperburn. And then I think after that, I'm probably going to start working on my Bowmaster, but I'm not planning on like, you know, grinding 5 different ults at once. And I wouldn't recommend anyone do that. I would recommend just taking it one at a time so you don't get burned out. And yeah, just doing it in a way that is as fun for you as possible. So what does it actually take to solo hard Saren, roughly? Roughly. Well, one, you're going to need to know how to kill hard Saren. Maybe we'll add Black Mage to this too. Hard Saren, Black Mage. You know, I think you start getting the real benefits at Black Mage. So what does it take to clear these bosses? One, you need to know the mechanics. You're going to be spending a lot of time in these boss rooms, probably, and you're going to want to know how to survive, you know. And that's something that I have no idea how to do. Like on hard Saren, whenever I do parties, we're killing this thing in like 2 bursts, and I'm always falling down to like 3 lives. You know, I still have no real idea what I'm doing. So that's gonna be fun. Learning how to do that. Let's see. Oh yeah, you're going to need probably max Arcane Force for Black Mage in order to do full damage. Definitely going to be recommended that you get that, which means maxing your Arcane weeklies, doing your weeklies every day. Yeah, getting to 1370, I think it is, Arcane Force. And to add on to that, they are updating the Arcane Weekly Party Quest next with the same patch. So 6 months from now ish. Right now you get 45 symbols per party quest, and they're going to change it up so that you get 120, I believe, which is a pretty drastic improvement. It's basically changing it from 101 days to max your arcane from level 1 to like 72, I think. So about taking a full month off of that process, which is really nice. If you just took these one at a time, you could have 5 characters maxed in 10 months, which sounds really crazy, but you know, whatever. That's not even counting like event buffs and stuff. Like right now I'm getting like 26 arcane symbols per weekly, or sorry, per daily. But yeah, you're going to want that. Then the next thing that's actually going to be significantly harder, in my opinion, is going to be getting 250 Star Force. Did I not say this yet? Okay, actually, more important than that, go back one step, is getting these bosses are level 275. Both Hard Saren and Black Mage are level 275. And you're definitely going to want to be as high level as possible to give yourself a ton of final damage for that. In case you don't know, there's a final damage modifier based on your level difference from the enemy. So I believe at level 275, if you're the same level, you get 10% final damage added, and it's 2%, 2 additional final damage percentage points after that. Up to, you get to level 280, you have a 20% final damage buff. And it gets, lower and lower. I believe at 273, you have like a 0. I'm going to link a spreadsheet or a document that I'm actually working on right now that will explain the damage modifiers. It's a work in progress, so not perfect. But I believe it's like at 273, you have 0 final damage modifier, and it just gets lower and lower from there. So you're definitely going to want to get, at a minimum, I would say level 270, but for souling Black Mage, you're probably going to want to be like level 275, which kind of sucks. That's going to be probably the hardest thing for anyone doing this, is just the time investment of getting a character to 275. 270 is actually pretty easy. My mule, my Buccaneer, is going to get to 270 just from doing dailies and from the Legion double up event that's happening. In a couple of months, in a month, something like that. You get like 3 levels, basically 3 transcendent growth potions just from that, if you only use it on one character above level 260. So yeah, I'm just going to be doing dailies and getting him to 266-ish. And then the double up plus the potion from the current event is going to take me all the way to 270, basically without ever playing it. But once you get to 270, the XP curve doubles, at least I think it doubles to meaning, so like at 265, I believe it increases by 30%, the required amount of XP to level. But yeah, at 270, it more than doubles, which, yeah, it's going to be much, much harder to get to 275, but probably necessary, because 1, you're going to want that final damage multiplier against the boss, and then 2, you're probably going to want the Sacred Force as well, because you need 250 Sacred Force to deal max damage against Hard Saren. And yeah, the Saren fight's going to be difficult. You're going to want everything, every little bit you can get. So I could see the meta being people pushing for 275. Again, this depends on, what other damage is available, but yeah, that seems likely. 270 to 275, around that range. In a real quick aside, an interesting thing is Michiel actually has, which the character Michiel has an ability that allows him to deal damage, to not be affected by the damage multiplier. I don't know if this gives him 20% final damage, or if it just makes it so he doesn't get the negative final damage buff, but I could see him, especially with his recent buffs to his damage, and just the fact that Michiel has like basically perma iframe. I could see playing a Michiel to be the meta. Like I could see basically every endgamer having a Michiel, just because he has a way easier time min clearing bosses, and he can ignore the level cap or the level difference. Yeah, if any Michiel knows for sure, do you get the 20% final damage, or do you just not get the reduced damage? Yeah, I would love to know that. But yeah, moving on aside, what else are you going to need to solo Hard Saren? You're going to need probably 100 mil plus combat power. Maybe more. Again, this is just a min clear, and you're going to theoretically have Legion buffs already. Like I'm assuming your main is probably going to be able to solo Hard Saren. So you'll have the 2.5% crit damage from there. And then there's also going to be the buffs from the Dragon Island event. God knows how much extra damage that's going to be. But I'm thinking you're going to want about 100 mil combat power. And more what that looks like is, like item-wise, what that looks like, sorry, is 21 to 22 starring all of your gear. I know there's a person, I'll link their channel if I remember to do this, but they sort of posted their way of getting C10 mules, building them up, and their way to do it most efficiently is to get Absolab gear to 21 stars, and then I don't even know if they 22 their CRA, but basically they just full 21 their gear, and then they leave reinforced pendant, or sorry, they leave superior pendant and ring at 20. so that they don't have to infinitely do Golux for the rest of their days. But yeah, if you do all of that, it should get you to 100 mil-ish combat power, a little bit higher, I think. And that will, I think, be enough. I'm almost certain that's enough. Has to be enough to kill Black Mage. Hard Saren, maybe not. We'll see. This is at least my plan right now. This is what I'm going to do, and it's setting up the character to be able to start clearing C10 solo if you want, and getting arcane boxes. And you could potentially switch over to arcane if you really wanted to, though that's kind of a big waste of money in my opinion. And okay, more importantly, it helps you liberate. Okay, with this patch coming, if you didn't already know, they're changing the liberation process, and basically you can liberate in 3 months is the highest speed. Pretty insane. You can do it without actually ever killing Black Mage. You just get basically like liberation fragments from soloing hard bosses. Not soloing hard bosses, sorry. You get it from doing hard bosses, but you do get significantly more from soloing. Okay, you get basically, say a boss drops like 100 liberation fragments. If you duo it, you get 50. If you 4-man it, you get 25. But if you solo it, you get 100. So yeah, I think the meta is going to be probably this Absolab route to 21 stars, and basically creating a C10 mule, soloing until you liberate. And then with your liberation, you should theoretically be, you're past that 100 mil combat power mark. Again, I could be way wrong. I could be a little bit wrong about, I don't think I'm wrong about Black Mage, but I could be wrong about Hard Siren. But let me finish the rest of what I'm saying here. So I also think you're probably going to want to have about like 300 to 500 fragments on your account progressing your 6th job. That might sound like a lot, but again, they are letting you do the epic dungeon on 2 different characters that patch. So you'll be able to get 40 fragments a week, or I think the new epic dungeon is going to come out. I don't know how many fragments you get for that, but I know it's more. So maybe you get like 200 fragments a month just from doing that. Shouldn't be that hard or unrealistic to get 500 on your characters, and that will unlock all of your basic skills and yeah, just give you a ton of free damage, which most people is not accounted for in their C10 mules. Most people aren't really leveling up their 6th job, but yeah, it's just going to be way easier at that point in time. And then, oh yeah, just waiting for an OP event is the last thing I have written down here. Yeah, you only need to solo clear these bosses once, as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure that's true. And so you can just wait for an event that gives you really OP stats and clear at an even, clear way sooner than you normally would be able to. Waiting for an OP event is going to be something that I imagine a lot of people do. The one that comes to mind, I don't know what future events there are going to be, but sorry. The one that comes to mind to me is Night Troop. That's going to happens every October, which is, a couple months after the system comes out. So, you won't have to wait too long. But yeah, Night Troop will be giving you, I believe, it gives you like 20% crit damage or something insane. It gives you just so much free damage and will massively increase your ability to min clear. So I think waiting for that, all that said and done, I think if you're level 275, you've got max arcane force, 250 star force, 100 mil plus combat power, full 21, 22 starred, liberated. I think we're at 4 here. Oh, that's kind of hard to do. Okay, 4. And then you have 500 frags ish, and yeah, wait for OP event. I don't know why that was so hard. Wait for OP event. I think you will be able to solo Hard Siren. Also, as long as you actually know the boss's mechanics. That is my best guess. Again, that's just a ballpark. At the very least, it will get you very close. You might have to go a bit further or lower depending on what class you're playing and what new stuff comes out and how strong these new guild-esque skills are. But yes, that is my read on the situation, and that's how I'm planning on preparing. I'm going to just focus on one character at a time so that I don't burn out, and that's just the way I prefer to play. and I'm going to go for 21/22 stars on some of the easy ones. Like I'm probably going to 22 star like the superior belt and earring because it's super easy to get fodder for that. Going to 22 star the CRA again for the same reason, I imagine. But yeah, everything else will probably just be 21 star. And it's just a matter of getting fodder for it, which shouldn't take too long. I don't know. I'm thinking like 2 months per character, maybe. And this Night Troop comes out in like what 10 months from now, a little bit longer, I think. Maybe not actually, maybe about 10 months. So I think it's pretty easy if you start now. Okay, maybe not pretty easy. Maybe I'm being a bit over ambitious here. You know, 10 months from now, I'm gonna be like have this shoved in my face. But I think it's realistic to 10 months from now in the Night Troop event, use that to min clear hard Siren on all of your characters. I think that's very possible. I do want to point out, by the way, that with this new thing, it's going to make farming FAMs. Like if you want to farm FAMs for your main character, you can do that. Like it's going to feel way better doing it on like an alt account because you'll also be progressing your main in the sense of building up the H Ceremule. I meant to say that earlier and I forgot to, but okay, I think that is everything I had to talk about with this Legion Champion update. If you can't tell from the video, again, I'm super excited. I think I've already said it like 5 times, but I'm really excited for this to come out. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. I'm really interested in hearing everyone's opinions and thoughts on it. And yeah, thank you for watching the video. If you want to hear more like meta discussions, I'm planning on making more videos like this. Yeah, we're kind of in the early stages of making MapleStory content and just kind of figuring out what people like, trying to get better at actually talking to the camera. And yeah, so just let me know if you're interested in this kind of stuff. And if you are, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I will see you in the next video, hopefully. Have a good one.